Hey everybody, Greg Harrelson here with Century 21, the Harrelson Group, and of course, as usual, I've got my co-host Abe Safa, also with Century 21, the Harrelson Group. Want to talk with you again this week about what's going on in the local real estate market. Before we get started, though, Abe, thanks for joining me once again.
Yeah, my pleasure. Welcome back, Greg.
Yeah,
Glad to
good.
be on here again with you.
Yes, yeah. I tell you what, we've as usual, this is ever since we've been doing this is over a year now, I believe. We've been reporting such great news about the market, and I think today will probably be very consistent. But we're starting to see, that one of a different type of property seems to be like thriving now. Instead of residential homes, it seems like condos are really thriving. I think you're going to show us some numbers on that. One of the things that I wanted to kind of bring up before we went into the numbers is the change in investors. Investors right now seem to be looking at vacation properties more now than I've seen it in a long time. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the investors are really getting into the market right now, looking for property.
Yeah.
So
what's interesting though, it's a different type of investor, and I think there's pros and cons to this, but it's like these investors right now, a lot of times investors never went after the resort condos. They went after like residential homes, maybe townhomes off the beach without huge HOA fees, because they were thinking that they might be able to cash flow a little bit better. And historically, I think that it's been kind of proven that some of those off the beach properties have performed a little bit better. So right now we've seen prices increase in like say oceanfront condos or resort type properties, and investors buying them have increased, which to me is like, if the prices increase, then sometimes the rental income doesn't necessarily increase that much. An investor kind of like stays away after the prices have increased. But right now investors are running to the investments. You have any opinions as to why that is?
yeah, I mean, first of all, let's clarify investors. So it
Okay.
is small private investors. We're not talking institutional, right? We're not
Yeah.
talking
Oh, good point.
corporations coming in and buying up these condos. So it is individual people, mom and pops, buying these condos. So I think it's twofold. Number one, of course, the market around the whole country is super hot right now. I think lack of housing availability for one, and then number two, the rental numbers look really strong this year. So especially on the oceanfront, the oceanfront's been lagging for a while now, while everything else has been on fire. And then they're having one of the strongest years they've ever had on the oceanfront as far as gross rental numbers. And I think that's driving some interest.
Yeah.
People want to get into the real estate market right now. They feel like it's going to keep going up. At least some of these investors that I've been talking to feel like, okay, this is the time to really get into the oceanfront condo market before it becomes unaffordable. Because there's still, even though we've had some great appreciation, it's still very affordable relative to the rest of the country as far as oceanfront.
Yeah, and I think there's a class of people that are thinking, hey, gosh, if we do see some sort of inflation in our economy, that maybe real estate is a good place to be, right? Like hard assets. And and because there's really not much inventory in the residential side, and they're looking for some sort of rental return, they can actually go to those resort properties. But here's one thing I want to mention, though, that I've noticed is because of COVID, or while COVID has been going on, the rental market has gotten stronger. Okay. I won't try to dive into and speculate as to why, what was the correlation there. But the facts is that most people are seeing stronger rentals right now than they have in many, many, many years. Good for them. I'm happy for that. What these investors are doing, though, is they're coming and buying these properties, and then they're canceling the rental management agreements that they have in place that are at 20%, 30%, and 40% rental management fees. And they're putting their properties on Airbnb, VRBO, and they're self-managing. Now, I know Airbnb, there are some small fees, et cetera. But when they look at the Airbnb fees compared to the rental management fees of 20 to 40%, sometimes 50% in some of these buildings, they're cutting out enough expense to justify them doing some self-management. Then they're buying 2 or 3 properties. Maybe their friends buying 2 or 3 properties. Now they have 6 or 7 properties, 4 to 6, 7 properties, and they're actually managing one Airbnb account. So they're kind of sharing in the expense. They're kind of sharing in the in the workload of being able to self-manage. And because they're eliminating all of those management fees, or the bulk of the management fees, they're justifying the return on their investment.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen more programs on, say, social media. There's Facebook advertisements where people are advertising, here's how you self-manage your oceanfront condos. There's programs teaching people that never thought about doing this. They're teaching them how to do it. And the reason why they're teaching them how to do it, or they're selling programs about it, is because there's a lot of people thinking about it.
Right.
And so that's something that I haven't seen. I haven't seen this amount of people going into self-managed properties as much as they have. I've never seen it in 25 years. And I think that brings a lot of buyers into the pool.
No question. I agree. And yeah, this is a new phenomenon. What's happening is now it makes these oceanfront condos cash flow.
Yes.
Right. So when you take away that 45% management fee for the rentals, now all of a sudden some of these condos are actually going to cash flow while having a mortgage.
Yes.
So that gets a lot of buyers also in the mix where they can actually afford to have one now.
Yeah, it opened a lot of buildings too, because like there's certain buildings, I won't mention them right on the video, but there's certain buildings that we know that if somebody comes in and puts 30% down and has a mortgage, that there's no way they're going to cash flow.
Yeah.
There's certain buildings we know. But if there's no management fee and the person is going to self-manage, we don't factor in the time that the owner has to put into the self-manage, just the expenses, the hard expenses. There's buildings that never cash flow that are now cash flow in those scenarios.
Right.
And so with people kind of like anxious to kind of put more money into real estate, they're trying to figure out where they're going to put it. Now this is how they're justifying it. And I think that's depleting our inventory and pushing up the prices. But let's look at the numbers. See what you got.
Yeah. So let's dive right in. So single family homes have been holding steady. Pretty much the same numbers we talked about last week. It's been the same numbers pretty much since somewhere around middle of August. Okay. It's kind of been flat, but flat at a high level. So homes are still selling fairly quickly. I put 4 homes on the contract just in the last week that the first day or two they hit the market, they went on the contract. So homes are still selling very fast. Numbers not really changing much. 65% of single family homes are under contract right now. Same thing along with new construction. It's funny, I was talking to one of my partners that works a lot of buyers, Susan Brown, and we were looking for a property for a buyer, and she's just saying that how much easier it is for her to find a new construction home for now for people than it is resale, because developers are starting to really put up some properties on the market, or at least start building on some properties. But that's still a very strong number. 70% of new construction is on the contract right now. The resale is holding firm right around just under 59%, and that number's been flat. It's been fluctuating 1% or so for since mid-August. So it's still very strong. The condo market is where we're really seeing the difference. Like this number overall,
wow.
I mean that's a strong number, 72%. There's not, and this is all condos, no matter where they are, oceanfront, on a golf course, standalone, wherever it is. That's just every condo in the entire market that's out there right now. 72.3% is under contract. The off the oceanfront, again, very strong, just under 76% of those. And then this is the number that's just increasing over and over. This oceanfront number.
Yeah.
So kind of like the increases that we're seeing right now, and as far as absorption rate, meaning that more pendings relative to what's on the market, is kind of like the same increases we were seeing in April with single family homes. So as hot as that was back then, this is starting to go that way. It's not as crazy, obviously, as single family homes. We're not getting multiple offers a lot on some of these condos, but they are selling quicker, and we're getting pretty good prices now relative to what they've been the last
I
few
mean,
years.
I guess if we look 4 months back at this number, there's a significant change here that's taken place just in this calendar year, where we started the year to now. I can't remember, was it ever in the under 40s?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was,
yeah.
it was into the 30s, if not into the 20s. So this number's it's over 100% difference,
Yeah, I mean, just
increase.
and I know it's not on the ocean front, but like I'm gonna give you an example of Ironwood over at Barefoot. I just put one on the contract for 215 in there.
Hmm.
I mean, those things were selling
Yeah,
for 140, like what, a year ago?
yeah,
And the same thing on the ocean front. I'm about to take a listing right now in Litchfield by the Sea, where, we this guy and I talked maybe 6, 7 months ago, and we were looking at pricing it around 500. Now we're going to go into six and a quarter because of the latest sales in there.
hmm,
Right. So certain pockets right now on the ocean front, certain buildings, resorts are actually doing really, really well relative to what they've been. So if you have not kind of been kept in the loop on what your condo have done, call one of us. So let's at least have a conversation. So, it doesn't matter if you're not selling, but at least know what it's worth right now in today's market, because it can be significantly different than what you had in mind.
yeah. No doubt. What about land? Have you seen anything on land?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of an increase, but pretty flat.
Yeah,
22.45. That number's been
yeah.
hovering around the 21% range, 20%. It's
Yeah.
kind of flat there. Um,
One of the reasons I think that one's flat is because it is extremely difficult for a buyer to find a a contractor right now,
mhm.
to build their home. I mean, I'm building 5 homes right now, and I've had a relationship with the contractor for many, many, many years. And but even he is telling me, who I've got a really good relationship with, he's telling me, don't be surprised if it takes 10 months,
Yeah.
and he'll do his best not to make it take that long. But that's the first time he's ever told me that. He's just saying, hey, look, Greg, it could be up to 10 months. I'll try to get faster. But, they're just very skeptical as to when did they run out of supplies? How long does it take to replenish supplies, et cetera? And so, when residential homes were going really fast, when we saw that really accelerating, you remember there was a point where we were like, holy cow, land is really selling. Land is
Right.
selling good. Land is selling good. Well, there was an immediate flight to land and to building. But we didn't have enough builders. So then now all of a sudden people are backing off of that because they don't have the time, or or in their building contracts, the builders are putting in escalation clauses. They're saying, okay, we think it's going to cost 300,000, but we have the right to increase your cost by X amount of percent. And so there's some unknowns built into the contract, and a lot of the buyers are afraid to get into a contract like that because they don't know, what if it goes up by 50,000? They're only qualified for 310. It goes up to 350. How is that going to influence their or impact financing and all the other things? So I think that's kind of why we see a little bit of not a softening as a decline, but as a leveling off, I guess, a flattening of on the land.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Yeah, a little bit of easing on the land, and frankly, it's been a lot of developers buying these.
Yes.
So they buy a lot and develop a home, just like in your case, you've got 5 that you're working on right now. There's not a whole lot of husband and wife couple coming in and
Yeah.
buying a land and going on and picking a developer or a contractor. That's difficult to do right now in this market.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, great. Well, Abe put up our telephone numbers there. Those are our cell numbers. Feel free to call us, or you can even text us if there's any information that we can provide from you. We sure would like to get that feedback. As we say all the time, you don't have to be in the market to buy or sell to be in communication with us. We're here to serve you all, provide good information, and hopefully someday in the future, if you or anyone you need or know needs an active real estate agent, that you'll think of Abe and I. Abe, thank you again, bud.
My pleasure. Take care, Greg.
All right, bye-bye.